I had no idea the value that I was offering. You know, as a pastor, you don't sell stuff. I put together a number that I thought would help, you know, be enough for me to, you know, to make a living with or whatever, raise your prices. When you charge little, especially in a service-based, like you're saying, where I'm doing a service for people, when you charge a little bit, you get people who, to be honest, tend to be more complainers.
Hello, Kevin. Great to have you here on the interview. You're one of the best well-known experts inside the GrooveFunnels community. You've built your own business based on GrooveFunnels. So please tell us, how did you get started with GrooveFunnels and online marketing in general?
Yeah, so my journey started in 2019. I had not done any online marketing or anything of that sort. I spent 27 years as a pastor. And in 2019, I started to transition from pastoral care, pastoral ministry into coaching. And I did virtual coaching certification with Eben Pagan and started, you know, working at trying to build an online coaching business. And as I started to do that, I started to gather tools. So I was using, I think at that point I was using Wix and MailChimp and ActiveCampaign. I tried different tools, putting them all together. And in a coaching mastermind, a friend of mine who was in the mastermind suggested Groove. So I took a look at it, and this was about August of 2019, and decided I'm going to buy it. I should go back before that. Before I was a pastor, I spent 7 years developing software. So my initial job was working with software engineering and building software, training people. So I worked for a software company. So when I looked at Groove and saw the potential, I thought, you know, I'm going to buy it and try to use it for my business. But my thinking at that point was, if I sell 2 or 3 copies of it, you know, get 2 or 3 people to purchase it, it paid for itself. I didn't lose any money. Everything's fine. So I started doing some sales webinars with some friends. I did one with Sanjay and my friend Raymond, coaching friends, and then I have a mentor that does business, and I did one with him. In the webinars, in both of them, it became clear that there were going to be people that needed help knowing how to use Groove. And so because I had the systems background, because I have the pastoral teaching background, I started thinking about, well, maybe I could offer some services with this. So I did sell. I sold 3, you know, licenses to other people right away, so the cost was covered. But what I did is, Sanjay, who I mentioned before, who is a friend of mine, who is a coach, told me that I needed to put together a workshop, invite people to the workshop. It's a free workshop, show them how to use Groove, and then offer them a membership where I'll continue to support them. So one thing that I have going for me that can also go against you is that I take action very quickly. I'm very good at imperfect action, sometimes too imperfect, right? And so I put this note out there. I was going to do this workshop, and I don't even remember how I got my first people to come to it, but I had about 20 people come to my first workshop where I was just going to show how to use Groove.
Before you even got the software, like what was your initial, what was the initial purpose of getting the software? Because I think you probably had a different idea in mind when you got the software, and then obviously some affiliate marketing just to recoup your investment. But what was your initial plan before you even decided to there's a need in the marketplace for people to learn how to use this new software tool? What was your initial plan there?
That's a great question. So I bought Groove to build my business. I was going to put my lead magnets and my whole sales funnel and everything for my coaching business. So I didn't know anything. I literally knew nothing about affiliate marketing. And so I bought Groove. I started building. I rebuilt my web page that I had built in Wix. I actually had a funnel that I had built sort of actually it worked. It was a good funnel. I had a lead magnet and I was building a list. So I bought Groove to build my online coaching business. That's a great question. And then what happened is when I started to work with these friends and do some webinars to sell Groove, that's when this idea came that maybe, and to be honest, at that point it was like, I can do this as well as coaching, right? I can. This can be something that
which area? Like, was it like in your with your experience as a pastor, or like what kind of coaching did you want to offer, and at which price point? So I'm just curious there.
Yeah, so I had so I was coaching. I built a system to help men be better husbands, and it was a coaching system around sort of brain science and why we have arguments and why we struggle in marriage. And so I was coaching husbands to be better husbands, and I had a group program that was really inexpensive. I think that was like $129 for people for a 5-session group thing. And then I had the larger, to be honest, as I was developing that, I never ended up developing the high ticket offer because I didn't get to that point. Because I was doing these smaller things, I was building, I was gathering some lists, and then I hit Groove. So my price point was really low, and I didn't get to the one-on-one packages because Groove came up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Does that answer the question?
Perfectly fine. But I just wanted to ask, because there's a lot of people like who just have this idea of starting a business, and like they're probably at the stage where they want, where they, like I have this idea, but then as they maybe come across an opportunity like Groove or like something new in the future, depending when people see this interview. And this is where they spot an opportunity, a gap in the marketplace, and then hopefully like you taking imperfect action and saying like, I'm the one who will fulfill this need in or this gap in the market and to build a successful business. Because in the end, it's not about like our ideas. There first needs to be some kind of market, some kind of demand for this. Probably was the same with your coaching, like where you already had husbands where you knew that they were unhappy and like you had this expertise and they were asking you. So things develop a little bit naturally, and it's not just like I'm going out there and I have this idea and people just have to buy this, because this approach usually does not work.
That's really helpful. I mean, and in regard to business, when I was, I'll take a side note here from Groove, because when I started my coaching business, to be honest, I was in a real need for income. I really needed to, build something. I needed to get a job. I needed to do something. To be honest, back then, partially to support my family, I was driving for Grubhub, which I don't know if they're international, but in the U.S. is, you go to restaurants, pick up the food for people, take it to their house. And I was, doing what I had to get some income. And so one pressure that I had when I started my business, when I started my coaching business, was to sell something. And I would just take a moment right now and say, I have, after 2 years of working with Groove and helping entrepreneurs for a couple of years, I think the number one error we all make is trying to sell something first. It's just, I understand, because I needed to sell something. I wanted to sell something. And, over these 2 years, it's become clear to me that you have to have a mindset of giving value before people are going to start buying from you. It just, because yourself, you trust yourself, you have something really good to offer, but nobody else knows that. Let me
please just say this. I think this is especially true if you want to sell information. It's a little bit different, like if you can offer a service where people know, like I want to get a website built for me. I do not have the time. I do not want to learn this. Let me hire somebody to do it for me. They have a rough idea where this looks like, and this is where people are willing to pay for. And this is basically where you treat your time for money, and you're offering a service. And this is probably like, especially if you're in a need to sell something to make money, this is something where I see like it's much quicker for you to generate an income by offering services. It's much more difficult with coaching. Like coaching is like something in between, but much more difficult if you just want to sell an online product, an online course, a software, or like whatever it is. It's completely the opposite. And this is one of the reasons why we're doing these interviews here, so people can get to know me, they can get to know you. It's published free on YouTube, and then they can decide like, is the Groove software right for me, or is it not right for me? And if it is right for me, maybe let's check out Martin and Kevin's bonuses. Like I offer a special bonus, and I've teamed up with you where people, if they buy through my affiliate link, can get access for a limited time to your paid community, where they get access to all your resources that you've built along the way. So it's always about like adding more value to the marketplace, and giving people a better deal than if they would just buy the software from the company itself.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a great point. So back to, me and Groove. So I did this workshop, 20 some people showed up, and in the workshop I said, I'm going to have a membership, and I told them I hadn't built any of it yet. But I said, I'm going to offer a membership where you're going to have a course where you can learn how to use Groove. I'm going to be doing training videos. I had worked out the idea, but I had not built anything. And I told him, if you buy it today, you can get it for, I don't know, I sold it for pennies. But you can buy a lifetime access to this membership. And I think 14 people bought my membership that night. And then, as I tell people in my story, then I was stuck. I had to build the membership because people had just bought it. And what happened then is, though, I started to build, and those people and others began to see that number one, I knew what I was talking about. Number two, I offered really good value, really high value. And then I think the third thing, and maybe it's first, because I was doing this workshop and people saw me face to face, and they not face to face, camera to camera, but they saw that I was a genuine person, that I was, I cared about them. Then I started to really build the online marketing reality that they had to know me, and they had to like me, and they'd trust me before they would buy something from me. And so that's
one
where
more
things
question
started.
about like how things started, because you mentioned like you had this community. Like, how did these people get into your community, to the workshop in the first place?
Yeah, that's what Martin, I should research. I don't remember how I got those people into the workshop in the first place. I honestly don't. I don't know if I do know what it was. Okay. So let me take a step back, and I know exactly what happened. So I was building the business, right? Remember when I started with Groove, I started so I could build my coaching business. And because I had this software background, I had this mentality. If you used Groove back in 2019, you know that we really were working around a lot of issues to make it work. But I have this mentality, I'm going to make this work. I'm not going to go outside and get other things. I'm not going to go outside and get other things to make it work. I'm going to make it work inside. So I worked really hard to build my system completely in Groove. And even in 2019, I used Groove Mail. It was functioning there for a while before it shut down. So I built my entire idea around Groove, including building out this membership idea, over here on the side. And I put a post in the Groove Facebook group, and I was just celebrating. And I just said, well, it took a while, but I've now built, and I just listed everything that I had built. And it literally, I just put it in there. I didn't put it in as any kind of advertisement or anything. I just said, I'm excited. I did this. And that post blew up. And I think if you go back, I looked at one point, it's probably one of the most liked and commented on posts for a while that Groove had in that group, because obviously people were intrigued. They were like, wait, what? How did you do that? What, and that's when people started asking me. That's when I put a note in that post, I'm doing this workshop. And that's how the first flow of people started coming to the workshop, was out of an organic post. I posted in the right group, right? I posted in the Groove Facebook group, very relevant to what I was doing, but I didn't advertise. I didn't do any. I just put an organic post in there, and that's where things took
that's
off.
Awesome, because like
so that's where
here
those
are
first
my questions that I prepared for the interviews. Is really the next question is like how important Facebook is, because as you know, like we did a JV webinar a while ago where I'm essentially teaching how to do this kind of posts more strategically. So you actually, like once you put a post like this, you have your customer of mine, you have the software where you can then automatically reach out to people. I do not know if you're still doing this or something like this, but at least there's a potential. So people at least they pay more attention to you. They know that you're a genuine person, that you, even if it's just appreciating them. Hey, I thought you liked my post. Thank you for that. And then, when you continue posting in the group, they will just see you more. They might like if they accept your friend request that you can send automatically with this, they will also see the post that you make on your personal profile. And because it's highly specific, it's something that they typically struggle with, because Groove had a learning curve, and it still has a steep learning curve, but back then it was like even like really hard, like to make things work. Like finally it's gotten a little bit easier, but all of this can be orchestrated, and then this is essentially what I'm teaching inside my paid program as well, like how to make posts like this and then get people reach out, jumping on a workshop like this, and then buying your program. That's awesome. So how did things go from there? Because I know now you have really like a huge much bigger membership, like you started your YouTube journey, everything. Like how did things develop afterwards?
So I will say this, I went through your paid program. I'm in your membership, and I'm just trying to imagine if I had that back then, right? Because this was I just put a post out, and then I would just go in every now and then and comment. I mean, I really wasn't making anything happen. If I had the messenger and that automated ability, I can only imagine what would have happened, because that was such a huge response. So what happened is they bought the membership, but the next thing, I was just going to do the membership, and the next thing, somebody came and asked me if I would build them a funnel, build a website for them. And, again, at that point, I was open to anything. I said, sure, I'll build it. And, and I put some number together for how much it would cost. It was so cheap, way less than they should have paid. But then that snowballed, because then he started telling people that if you want something built that works, this is your guy. And so that started moving another side of a business opportunity. So I was doing training and support for people that wanted to learn, and then I started building, and that started becoming a part of the business as well. So then I continued to offer the workshop, and I think at this point over 300 people have attended the workshop over 2 years, have been in the workshop. I think like 800 people have registered for it. Of course, not everybody comes. And I was doing it weekly when I began. Now I do it once a month live.
Always the same workshop,
I also
where you were basically explaining the same things, like how to build a funnel, or what was the workshop all about?
Yeah, this workshop is the same workshop every time, and it's how to build a landing page, how to collect leads, and how to sell your product with Groove. So it's build, collect, and sell. And essentially what I do is I train people how to build a page. So all of the function, not all of it, but the basic overviews. This is how you use a template, make it yours, add images, text, and so forth. And then I show them how to build a form with Groove Mail, and how to connect it to the page, and how to deliver a lead magnet. And then the final step, I show them how to put a checkout link, a Groove Sell checkout, onto the page so they can start selling. And then, so this is developed, I give away bonus videos at the end of the workshop. They can sign up for bonus videos, and those bonus videos give you a bunch more background that you can use to build. And then finally, and I instead of just offering the membership, I make offers during the workshop. So, it's really developed. I didn't have any of this down, when I started. So now the workshop is really a lead magnet, number one. I would say almost all of my leads, I would say 90% of the leads that we do business, that we've ended up doing business with, came through the workshop.
How do you invite people to the workshop nowadays?
Now I have a lot of...
Have you become more strategic with that as well, or is it still organically, because you're still active inside the community? There's only next to you, I only know one person who's really supporting people with building their websites and teaching this as well. And the company itself, they lost a little bit of momentum in 2021, 2022. Now they're Mike Filsame, the CEO, is always saying we need to focus. We are not doing live events anymore. We just need to focus. We are a software company. We are not just a marketing company that has software as well.
Marketing.
So I forgot my question now, but
how am I inviting people to the workshop now? Right. So what I do is every day I go into the Groove main Facebook group and I look for questions. I look for a couple of kinds of questions. One, how do I do this? I look for those questions. And if you're in the group, you'll see that a lot of people or people will say, can you do this? And some people will say, well, you get several answers. One is, yes, you can do it, which is not really what they were asking, right? They really want to know, how do I do this? Another one is, I can help you do that, message me and I'm really good at this. So that's people who are just, trying to get business. And so what I do is very strategically, and because I really want to help people, if somebody says, can you do this? I will craft an answer. I'll go out, do screen grabs, put arrows on it, and I'll put a little image together that shows exactly how to do it. And I'll say, yes, you can do it, and here's how you do it. And so that does a couple of things. One, again, it shows people that I get them. People need to know, how do I do this? They don't just want somebody to say yes, or, yes, if you go there, you can do that. So they want specifics. And secondly, it shows I know what I'm talking about. So I consistently work at giving value. And when you give value that is actual value, then people start to be drawn to you. And so every now and then, I don't do it very often, but people will say, where do I start with this? And I'll just say, if you want, you can come to a workshop. We do it every month, and so I will put that out there. And a lot of times people will say, other people will see that and say, oh, how do I get involved in your workshop? So that's the main place. I'm, working at getting ready to start doing some advertising. I'm putting some bots together. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that I know I can do to really start scaling, but everything that I've done has been organic. And then really important, I have a lot of referral traffic. So I have an affiliate program, and if people refer people to our business and they buy the workshop they buy the membership or they buy a build, I am giving commissions to affiliates. And people who buy from me tend to refer their friends to me. So I have a lot of referral traffic.
I think that's something that a lot of people overlook, especially in the Groove universe, because Mike Filsame is so direct response driven, and even for the promotion that is running as we're recording this video, he talks about how it's important to just remove distractions from the landing page and make everything convert higher. But at the end of the day, it's really about you build this know, like, and trust as an expert, as somebody that people will very gladly refer, and even feel glad if they could refer them to you. And then you became a little bit more strategic with this by offering affiliate commissions, by incentivizing your members
Right.
to tell them, hey, like I will benefit. Let's create a win-win situation. If you refer me customers, I'm also willing to pay you using the Groove platform, because I think it has one of the
Yep.
highest developed like affiliate capabilities in the industry. But one thing that I'm really curious about is like, how has your pricing structure changed? Because like you talked about like which you charge way too less in the beginning, but this is also like how you build confidence, how you get your first like raving clients who will then start this flywheel to make this flywheel spin. So what were your realizations when it comes to pricing? Because I remember at some point I told you, like you should definitely up your prices as well. So how has this changed over the time?
You know, that's a great question, and I think it's really relevant to people like myself who are just starting in a new business, right? So number one, because I had never been in this field, I had no idea the value that I was offering. So had I stopped and asked people and trusted them, I would have charged more in the beginning. I didn't stop. I put together a number that I thought would help, be enough for me to, to make a living with or whatever. And so what happened is very early on, I started to run into people like yourself, people who were business coaches, people who had been in the online business and a lot longer than I. As a pastor, you don't sell stuff. I mean, it's not about pricing and all of that good stuff. And so that whole mindset was very, very different. But consistently, people were saying, you're not charging near enough. And so the fear I had, which I think anybody who's starting a business will be able to relate to this. The fear I had was if I charge too much, I'm not going to get customers. And if I don't get customers, I don't make money. So there was this fear that, along with, I'm not sure that this is worth what they say it's worth. It seems like they're charging way too much. And so from there to today, I charge over 4 times now what I did when I started. So, 400% increase. And what I have discovered, you're exactly right. I have a business coach. Her name is Diane. She's in the group, and that's where we met. But she, almost every time we're on a call, she says, raise your prices, raise your prices. Because I think people from the outside understand, and people who are business coaches understand, you should be charging a lot more. What I have discovered, and I see this message now, is when you charge little, especially in a service-based, like you're saying, where I'm doing a service for people, when you charge a little bit, you get people who, to be honest, tend to be more complainers. They tend to think that you ought to get more than what they paid for. And when you charge more, you get a higher, for lack of a better word, quality customer who tends to be a lot easier to work with. And that was a real learning process for me. So now when I get on a sales call, somebody's interested. One of the things that I've learned is very early in the call, I mention what the pricing is. Because I know that if I spend 30, 40 minutes on a call with somebody and at the end give them a price that they're not prepared for, I've wasted 30 to 40 minutes of their time and my time. And if I mention the price up front and they're still interested, then I know that I have a qualified customer who I'm going to be able to work with and who is ready to work with me. And I've gotten comfortable with that. I've gotten okay with the fact that I get on the call and right away, you can tell they're not going to pay those kinds of rates. I'm okay with that. Instead of thinking, I lost a sale, my mindset now is it was good. That would not have been a good situation no matter what. So pricing has moved very different. And here's something I think also is important, Martin. I know more of my value now. I can unapologetically say, this is kind of sounds weird to say, but it's true. In the world, right, I'm one of the experts in Groove. partially because Groove is a small world, universe related to the whole world. However, I know that. I know I'm one of the experts in Groove, and I'm comfortable with that, saying you're going to get the best. If you hire us, you're going to get the best product out there, and we know what we're doing. So a lot of things have shifted, in mindset and in understanding, I think, over the 2 years of what we're really offering. And this is
a common theme that I've seen in all of the interviews, and something that I'm trying to point out whenever I come across this, where you're saying like, I'm the best now, like I'm one of the best, and we always have like this Pareto curve, and this is something that I talk about, like this 80-20 principle, but then you can apply this 80-20 rule on the which basically says that 80% of your results come from 20% of your effort, or like 80% of your money comes from 20% of your customers. But then you can also apply this 80-20 rule again, and then it says like half of your money, or like 60% of your money comes from only 4% of your customers. And if you're, I do not know how much you charge, but if you're charging $10,000 for a complete funnel build, like with all the automations and something like this, then you can you will need a lot of customers in your membership, which has a lower price point, but there you just create the content once, you put them into some kind of library, and it's not done for you. It's just like you present, you're selling the information, and people can access it on their own without any of your work. And this is why a platform like Groove is so essential for business, especially if you're selling information products, because you can control like how the information is delivered with the videos and memberships and automated emails and all of this. And then for sure, like if you get paid advertising going, like you can scale this and really cement your position that you've built organically, essentially. One question I also have, because like you're one of the top experts in Groove, like working with the software basically every day, like how have you seen, how do you see Groove at this stage compared to other companies, and how did it evolve in the last 2 years?
Yeah, that's an interesting question that in some ways it's hard for me to ask, because if you remember when I came into this, I had no online, no online marketing awareness. People, people throw out names out there, this guy, and I didn't know who Russell Brunson was. I didn't know, anybody in the online world. I didn't know what a funnel was. I didn't know what Kartra was. I didn't know what ClickFunnels was. And so what's interesting in my experience is my experience has completely been with Groove as a company. I never used Kartra. I never used ClickFunnels. I did use things like Teachable because I was doing course content delivery in my coaching business. And so how it compares is difficult, except for this. Now I've worked with a lot of customers who have used those packages. So I have helped Kartra customers move from Kartra to Groove. I've helped ClickFunnels move from ClickFunnels to Groove, and WordPress and all of those things. One thing about Groove, so if you go back to my history, I have a history in software development. And so I was a part of building software, testing software, delivering software, working with customers. And one thing that I will say is just yesterday or a few days ago, Groove came out with Groove Pages 2.0, and it had some really nice things, but there were things that just kind of didn't make sense. Like you couldn't drag an element the way you used to. And then I noticed just a few days later, you could do that. Groove is, on one hand, developing software very fast. I know that people who maybe haven't been in the software development field think it's taking forever, and I get that as well. But I said this from the beginning, the speed with which changes are coming is kind of phenomenal in the software world. Having said that, I think talk about imperfect action. I think sometimes Groove takes too imperfect of an action. We get an update and it wasn't quite ready to come out, and then something gets broken. And so having said all of that, let me say the final thing, and that is where Groove is today, usability-wise, compared to where it was a year ago. Sometimes I say even 6 months ago. It's just worlds apart. It's just much, much, much more usable. What Groove isn't yet is intuitive for putting all of the pieces together. And if I have one area that we help with the most is helping people understand the picture of how Groove Pages works with Groove Mail, which works with Groove Sell. Those pieces, while they're all in one package, it's not intuitive how you put them all together. And so I think that's going to come over the next, I would say over the next couple of years. I think it's just a lot to put into a package. Groove has so much power and so much flexibility and so much coming that it's such a huge world to put all together. What I always tell people in software, the more powerful software is, the more complex it is to use. So because you have, if you had 3 options, that's one thing. If you have 35 options, now it just became much more complicated. However, those 35 options mean you can do so much more, and so much more unique to your situation. So that's what Groove has, is all of that power. But it because it has so much power, and because it's new. I would say Groove is still a new software system. Usability is still going to be an issue for a while, as far as knowing how to.
Yeah, and this has been my exact experience. Like, I've used Kartra, the software that Mike Filsame developed before he left that company, because he had a fallout with his former partner, Andy Jenkins. Both of them were my coaches in 2015. And I hope that Groove would, with this experience, be much more Kartra-like, especially when it comes to stability. And this is probably also what you're seeing in the marketplace. There's not huge because Groove is changing things, and they are still adding new features. And oftentimes you see Mike Filsame in a live demonstration, hey, please make note of this. We need to change this, and then they are changing the software as they go. And I think they have such a great vision, but people do not understand this. And if you're watching this video and think about is Groove right for me? When I did my reviews for GrooveFunnels, I always said buy the software for the lifetime price, and then put it on the shelf and use it when it's ready, if you already have an existing business. But if people are at the stage where they're not really 100% sure what kind of coaching business they want to build, or what kind of product they want to build, or they just have a general idea, then also investing in the lifetime pricing offers a lot of relief, because you're just paying a one-time price, and then you do not have to worry about the software costs again. And something that I've also noticed with different software tools is each of them has its own learning curve, and it's so much pain to move from one software to the other. So I'm now more in the process of moving back to Kartra, because I really want to have everything in one system, just having the stability, not even I know that I will not have some features that I really or come to about GrooveFunnels, but it's just for me having this stability, which is much more important. And if you already have a business that makes 5 figures per month, or more, or somewhere in this range, where you really want to get into advertising and scale your campaigns, and where you cannot afford to have a page break for even a couple of hours, because you're spending $1,000 in advertising every day, then GrooveFunnels is still not the right platform. But if you're still in the figuring it out phase, then you will have a learning curve no matter what platform you choose. And then there's experts like you, and
that's right.
Everyone super helpful in the community, where you can just grow with the company without having to worry about these monthly charges, which can also add up especially if you're stressed out and you're still trying to figure out the business model. And this is the niche that I've discovered for myself, where I'm teaching people how to get customers strategically with organic Facebook marketing, where literally all they need, to sell Groove services, for example, you do not need a website yourself, and many people do not even realize this. All you basically would need is a way to get the money, and for this, all you would need to do is create a check out in GrooveSell and send people like directly from the Facebook Messenger or like from a personal conversation on Zoom to the checkout link, and then you can decide like however your pricing, like GrooveSell is super flexible with pricing, like charging like $2,000 upfront and then $100 afterwards for maintenance or whatever you want to imagine. And this is one of the powers of Groove. But this is something that people really need to understand, especially with the lifetime pricing. Like personally, I think the monthly prices, there's better options out there. But with Groove, and especially when I talk to Nicholas McIntosh, who's the chief technology officer of Groove Asia, like he talked about Groove in terms of like thinking of a legacy that you leave with your children, that you like really thinking longer term and thinking of this as a longer term investment, and then it really will pay off if they have all the 18 apps like fully developed that they are promising. But right now it's usable, and it's probably much easier. How long do you think would it take someone to build a basic funnel with a lead capture, like a simple autoresponder campaign and some kind of payment collection process, like as you're teaching in the workshop? How long a basic, if they were using funnel templates following the training in your workshop, how long does it take to build something like this in Groove now?
That's a great question, and to be honest, if I put a number on it, it wouldn't be fair. And the reason is I find that a lot of people come to me after they've tried. And they say, I've really tried to put this together, and I hear this a lot. And I'm not a non-techie. I'm kind of techie. I know how to use systems, and for what I don't know exactly the reason, but there are some people who just can use it. I have a client in the UK, and I keep offering him a job because he hired me to build his funnel, but he could have done it himself. He's very able to use Groove. So I would say for a beginner, learning how to use Groove to put together, to take a template, like you say, make it their own, get a lead generation, and be able to put a checkout together, I would say you're talking a couple of weeks of time. And that's one thing I would mention. I should say full time. I mean, I think if you're really working at it. One of the things I would mention, though, is when you buy Groove, I 100% agree with buy the lifetime, because it's going to be, I think it's going to be just an amazing tool for people. It's an amazing tool now. It's just harder to use. And like you say, sometimes it breaks, right? So I put a lifetime offer out 2 days ago or 4 days ago. And yesterday, people started telling me I can't purchase, and GrooveSell was broken. I don't know how long, what the period of time was. When people were coming to my site to purchase, it was just spinning. And it wasn't just me. It was GrooveSell was broken for a moment. So you have that. But people can put together a system. But over and over, I would encourage you, if you're starting a business and you want to get it launched, you want to get your funnel working, I don't say this to drum up business. I say it because I've worked with people who have spent hours and hours and hours and hours of their own time trying to build it, because that's kind of the attractiveness of it. I bought the package. Now I'm going to build it. I'm not going to have to pay somebody to do it. I say to people, pay somebody to build at least your first funnel, because what you're doing is you're using up your valuable time doing something that is not your skill set. And you should be developing your content. You should be developing your marketing strategy. You should be developing your business relationships for your business, and let somebody else who knows what they're doing and who can do it well and create you the best possible system, let them build that for you. And so that's a mindset too. I think when people buy Groove, for most of us, it's a large chunk of money. And so I get that. However, I think it would be best to go into it thinking, I'm going to buy Groove. I'm going to pay for somebody to build me my first functioning system so I can get my business moving. You
and
are your
one
greatest
thing that
asset.
I would add to this
And
is, especially if they cannot afford to hire somebody properly, you do not need everything automated in the first place, because in the end, and this is something that I've learned, like when I did the Pareto Summit, and ask yourself, is this system really helping your customer? Or maybe you could just jump on one more personal call with somebody to explain it to them one-on-one and have them this, or like just put the content inside a Facebook group when you're not ready to know how to use this. Just put it inside the Facebook group, or make a separate Facebook group for your paid customers and put the content there. Or just like there's so many people who started just when they were teaching like some kind of information, and they just put unlisted YouTube video and send people to the unlisted YouTube video where we are your normal Gmail or something like this. And once you're able to help people and people find this valuable and you get paid, then use this money to build a proper funnel in GrooveFunnels or like some other system. Because but in the beginning, like, it's so easy to waste so much time with the technology and everything and trying to get everything run right, and then you have built this system, and I was there over and over again. I've built this system, this complex system, and then I found out, people are not really interested in that, or I do not know how to get traffic to that site. And then I have built this machine, but there basically was no fuel to fuel this machine. And in the beginning, it's really much more about talking to people. And this is why I'm so excited about my program that you are a customer of as well, which is all about like just talking to people, getting real feedback, and trying to get them to the results as fast as possible. So and then like there's one thing that I always that I did taught my students last week, which was like first solve via iteration and then get paid via repetition. And people try to get to the repetition part and to the automation part way too soon. They first need to figure it out, what is the actual product that I'm selling, because we have this idea in our mind, like, I want to sell coaching to husbands, to how to be a better husband. But then we discover this opportunity. There's a lot of people who need help with technology, and they have their money, and they're having a problem, and they're willing to pay for that. And especially if you need money, it's much better if you just go to the people who say like, I need the solution, take my money, and then that's it.
Yes, exactly. I think one thing too, Martin, just completely agree with everything you said. I think one of the reasons people struggle with starting a business online with that, what you just said, build everything out, repetition, is because of how many marketing programs are out there that say, if you set up this automated system, you will make $1 million. And so, every program, every person out there says, this is how you make, $1 million. This is how you make 200,000, whatever, guaranteed success. And what you have to do is, you have to build this automated system. And when you do that, people are going to buy it and you won't even have to work. I just think there's so many messages that are out there, so many people selling that kind of an idea, that it's very hard to find real people saying, you know what? You're going to get there, but you don't start there. What you just said is so important. You start by talking to people. You start by finding not just your niche, but finding a genuine need that you can provide the solution for. And you start doing it. It really has to start a little bit at a time. I mean, I know there are, overnight successes, but it's just like everything out there. Those are very, very small percentage, and most people start their business and start small, and you just have to have that mindset.
This will take time, and it's the same with compound effect. Like just as you mentioned, like you became more confident, you increased your prices 400%. You've built this over time. You've built the skills with the platform over time, and that's how you because you kept for this on for more than 2 years now. You're one of the experts, and this is the way I'm treating these interviews. Like just today, we're using a new software where I hope the quality of the interview will be be just a little bit better, but I did not start there. I'm also taking imperfect action, and probably if you're watching the interviews that I will put out in 2 years on this channel, they will be much different, but the message and the fundamentals will not have changed, and the opportunities will change over time. Like for example, like Groove, it lost a little bit of momentum because of the stability that's not there yet, and they will grab some momentum. And I think in general, and this is something that I'm seeing in the marketplace, there was this huge gold rush where everyone was just getting online. Facebook just reached its highest point in history. Everybody could just throw up a Facebook ad, and they really, like, if you were an expert and then you added online marketing to the mix and you were able to reach people all across the world, yeah, sure, there were these magic success stories, but now we're seeing a movement back to people like you and me, a real expert who are charging much higher prices, because online advertising is getting much more fractured. Like now we have TikTok, we have Instagram, we have YouTube, we have Facebook, we have Snapchat, and all these different, and Reddit and Quora and all these different places, and SEO and Google. So it's much harder to get this like huge momentum going. So we're seeing a shift to the expert space as well. And it's more like this was a unique time in history that's probably never going to come back. And now it's really, again, focusing on the fundamentals, working with the right customers, but for this you need to be the right person for this customer, and for this you need to develop the expertise, and this typically comes from helping people in the beginning, answering questions like you do in the Facebook group, and this is something where you can train yourself. And one thing before we get to the end of the interview, like you also started your YouTube channel, like what was your experience there? Because I noticed like you had a huge learning curve there as well in a recent post in your Facebook group where you just learned things that were really basic for me, but for you, like you tripled your views and like got huge spike on your channel. Like, so please tell us a little bit about that before we close the interview.
Yeah, that's kind of it's like you say. I look back and like, what was I doing? So I part of the strategy, again going back to Sanjay, to my starting this whole Groove thing, was he said you need to put videos out there and start a YouTube channel and become known as, and so my channel is called Groove Tutorials, right? And so I started putting videos out there, but I was just essentially it's like just throwing seed out there to whatever, in the Bible it talks about sowing the seed, and you have these 4 kinds of ground. I would just throw it out there, some of it's going to land. And I would get very few views. What happened is, 2 things happened. One, it did grow over time, little by little. And one day I got a message saying that I had 500 subscribers, which I know that's not much, but for me it was like, hey, I hit 500. So I did this imperfect action where I went live and said, guys, I hit 500 subscribers. In celebration, I'm going to do 50 videos over the next 50 days and just celebrate. And that's all. I just put that out there. But at the same time, I was on a call with Amy Vo, and a lot of you, if you're watching this interview, you've probably seen her channel, and she has a huge following and all this good stuff. And she gave me like 2 or 3 tips, and one of them was to use something like TubeBuddy. And I started discovering that if I was a little bit more strategic, and she gave me 2 tips, and that is what I should be going after and how I should put it together. And that's what changed everything, because 500 subscribers, I reached that in 2 years. And I'm in 2 months, I'm almost at 700 subscribers. So again, I know those aren't huge numbers, but that's just a picture of what happened. I started strategically putting titles to the videos together and content that YouTube or TubeBuddy was telling me, this is going to be good stuff. People are going to be attracted to this. And so once I started to learn how to do that, the YouTube channel has this potential now, and I really mean potential, because I still am not really using it as effectively as I know I can. But the learning, the growth there was to say, be strategic and use a tool. So I invested a couple of dollars a month in TubeBuddy. I know there's another one. I forget what it's called. vidIQ. Yeah, vidIQ. I started with that, but then when I started using TubeBuddy, I just liked it more. And so now I use, a strategic tool. I put a little more time into what am I going to put on this video, right? Instead of just putting, I think the videos I was putting out were good. They were good content. They were helpful content, but people weren't finding them because I wasn't using the strategy to create SEO for the YouTube
then
videos.
Probably one of the next steps is that you like, and this is something like I've put out a YouTube video with Spencer Meekham, who's one of the biggest affiliates for ClickFunnels, and there he really gave me inside access into his dashboard about how his YouTube content creation strategy looks like with all his checklists and so on. And this was really helpful for me as well. And one of the things that I'm doing now is trying to really push a call to action somewhere below this video where you can get one of the free software that will help you with your Facebook marketing from me. I will also put the link to your website and to your membership and to, whatever you want me to put there, so people, and to your YouTube channel, obviously. And it's a learning process, and then it's really about like templating it so you become really efficient at this, that you probably at one point, I do not know if you're doing this right now, but probably a good idea would be to add a call to action or just mention something like, hey, I'm doing a workshop every month where you can learn more about this. The link is somewhere in the description. And then you just throw this inside the video, because typically, and this is one thing that I've learned, at the end of a video, you do not want to get people away from YouTube. You want them to watch the next video. And the call to action should always be in the middle of the video, because obviously an email subscriber is much more valuable than another view on YouTube. But at the end of the video, if people made it there, then you want to have people watch the next video instead of sending them off YouTube, because this will also trigger the algorithm and make your videos show more. And they will also show up not only for search but also for suggested. And this is one little tip that I've learned that I'm trying to do. So as we are at the end of the interview, almost like the last call to action will be watch another video with another Groove expert like Milan Mia, so you can, who has a similar story than yours.
Right.
And this is what I just wanted to tell. So is there anything that I should have asked you that I did not ask?
I don't think so. I mean, what you said there about YouTube, though, that really simple thing, put a call to action. I had nothing, I just was putting content out there without any that in itself. I also changed my banner on top, and I created a banner so when people come on the desktop, right at the top right, it says, free workshop with arrows, it points, and they can click right there to go to it. So now, since I started doing that, I get people in the workshop. I don't even know where they came from. But I because I notice somebody subscribes on YouTube, and then I see them show up in my workshop. So I know that system over there, totally organic, right? I'm not paying for any ads or anything. It's just growing my business because of those little strategic changes, the call to action. So in every, again, I look at people like you, I look at people like Amy Vo, and I look at your descriptions, and I see what you have in all of your video descriptions. So I have the same links in every video description. So on any video, if they scroll down, they're going to have access to my workshop, access to my membership, access to a lot of resources. And I find that fascinating and fun. Just saying that I know today somebody's going to subscribe to my YouTube channel that I don't even know how they arrived there. They did a search, they were looking for something. They found my video. I got an email yesterday. Remember I said GrooveCell was not working. He said he found my YouTube channel, and he watched the videos and liked them, and he went out to buy my membership, and it didn't work. And so, but that's an example of, that didn't have anything to do with the Facebook group. He was looking for answers on YouTube, found me, and that's how That's how that happened. I have a customer that I just signed a few weeks ago to build a funnel for him, and I asked him, how did you find me? He said, I just was doing a search online and your stuff came up. So that organic stuff excites me more than ads that work, because I know that's perpetual, right?
Much, Kevin, for this interview. I will put all the links inside the description. And if you're watching this, if you made it to the end of the video, make sure that you watch my interview with Milan Mia, who also shared his story about how he helped clients to get over, to sell over $2 million with Groove.